she was the boss when it come to that sort of thing. But that was always kind of interesting to do. We kill a yearling like that every once in a while. We didn't every year. We didn't kill a yearling. It might be every other year or something like that. We don't have one. Our cow I don't have one calf a year, and that calf would have to get to be maybe over more than a year old. And when it got big enough, and it weighed several hundred pounds by the time come time to kill that calf, and that was another big job. Now the hide off the cow, when you hang a cow, if you take the hide off of it, you put it up, you tan it, or you put it up on top of the barn, and let the sun kind of tan it for you. And then you would use it for something, to make maybe some bag out of it or something of that nature. You didn't throw anything away. That's just kind of the way we were. The cows that we would kill, they never had any horns or anything like that because they weren't old enough to be grown a lot of horns. They might have a little nubbin stuck out there, but that'd be about it. But that would be a lot of work. And there again, we'd start early in the morning, and it'd be about the same thing as killing a hog, except you didn't have to scrape a cow. You just had to jack it up in the air with that come along, and then you skin it. And then you cut it up. Now, you didn't, beef, you didn't salt it down. So, you had cold weather, you didn't have to worry about it going bad because it'd be cold enough it'd keep. But you would package it in ways that it would, people in the country had ways of being able to preserve that stuff. And a lot of times when you cook it down, you make tallow. And tallow you use to make candles out of, and things of that nature. And you use it, for when you had old smoothing irons, you had a big cake of that tallow, and when that smoothing iron got where it pulled the cloth, when you was ironing with it, you'd run you'd run it across a bar of that tallow and get it slicked up good, and it'd go back to ironing good. See, that was another thing that tallow was used for. But it was always unique. And of course, we just did what my mama told us to do. She knew how to cut the calf up and what to do with it and that sort of thing. And it took all hands on deck when you start working on that. The biggest responsibility you had was going to the spring and bringing back water. Yeah. You had to do a lot of washing up and cleaning and that sort of thing. And you'd have all that meat out there on the table, cutting it, packing it up, doing something with it, putting it in the smokehouse or wherever it had to go.
Did you ever? You had goats, right?
We had goats, and we didn't want goats.
You didn't eat the goats?
We tried to eat goats from time. I couldn't eat them, and they was just not good to me.
Okay.
Because I'd take a bite of goat meat, and I would chew on it for 5 minutes, and I'd have more in my mouth when I quit chewing than I did when I started. I just didn't. And those black people that lived around us, and there was a lot of black people, they loved those goats. You kill a goat, and we didn't kill goats to butcher them. We killed them when they had to be killed. Like when Mom hit the one in the head with a baseball bat, we had to butcher that goat and save it. But
so why did she hit the goat?
Well, that all started because that goat was a mean goat. He was a big billy goat. And you would go out in the yard, and he wasn't fenced up or anything. All those goats were loose. There was 17 of them at one time. And they'd be running around eating anything they could find. As high as they could reach on a tree, they'd be, skinning it down and everything else. But that one big bad billy goat, you would go out in that yard, and there was two things that he always would do. He would pee on his own goatee and make it spray. And then you would smell like goat. It just smelled awful, you know. And I don't know why he did that, but that's the way he would do it. He was just nasty that way. You get around him, and he would pee up through his legs into his own goatee, and then that stuff would go everywhere, and he'd just be running trying to get away from it. And he had a big set of horns on him, and he would rear up when you didn't expect it, and he would give you a big butt with that, you know. He'd bang you down, knock you down, anything. I mean, he was just a nasty goat. And it was my dad's favorite animal, you know. I think he liked that goat because he abused everybody. But we were playing ball in the backyard. Now, my younger sister says that if Faye had the ball bat and Lady Faye hit that goat with that ball bat and killed it. That's what my younger sister says. But I was there, and I can tell you right now, Babe Ruth couldn't have hit that goat in the head with a ball bat and killed it with the first lick. Now, when Faye hit that goat in the head, it knocked the goat down, but it didn't kill him. And then my mom took her turn at bat. You know, she came to bat as a pinch hitter, and she whacked him more than once. She got him while he was down, and he couldn't get up. And of course, by doing that, she killed him. And of course, my dad was at work, and that being his favorite animal, we told him that Faye hit that goat in the head with a baseball bat and killed him.
You don't lay off the blame on a little girl.
Yeah. Faye was, 8 or 9 years old. You know, she couldn't have killed that goat but anyhow, we laid it off on her because my dad would have been upset if he thought my mom had beat that goat to death with a ball bat. But anyhow, after she killed that goat, we had to clean it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cleaned it and cut it out and packed it up, and we tried to eat it, and we just couldn't. Nobody in our family thought that was worth the trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Even my daddy didn't like the goat. It's too strong. And so a lot of black people lived around us. They would come over and do stuff. And my mother would ration out some of that goat to them in exchange. and they loved that. A funny story about that. They had got used to us having goat meat around there, and we had an old lady, Pearl Fraser was her name, and she would always be coming looking for something. Have you got anything around that we can have to eat? You got any meat? You got any veggies? I mean, anything. She was always looking for a handout. And the goat would already been used up.
Mm-hmm.
We already gave it up. We didn't have any of that left. But my dad had killed a possum and cleaned it.
Uh-huh.
And he had it all set up. He was going to have my mother cook it.
Yeah.
Well, my mother wasn't in favor of cooking no possum anyhow. And so when Pearl came over that day and she was looking for some goat meat, my mother gathered up that bag of meat where it had been chopped up and everything and gave it to Pearl. And Pearl took it home with her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a week or two later when my daddy was home, and Pearl come over there. And she said to my mother, "You got any more of that goat meat? That was really good." and my daddy looked at her because he knew we didn't have no goat meat.
Yeah.
And he said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, Miss Jones, she gave me a mess of goat meat the other day, and I cooked it up, and that was really good." And my daddy looked at her and said, "There went my possum." Yeah, that's kind of the story of my mother. She was the boss of the family, and she could do about anything. And we really missed her because we were young when she left us, and we just didn't know how to survive. That's about all I can tell you.
Didn't she have to deal with a man who was harassing her?
Well, she deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stories, with, and I think I told that story before about Virgil coming over.
Yeah.
And my dad would go to work, and then Virgil would be drunk, and he would come over there. And my dad had got a hold of Virgil and told him not to come ever to my house again. And then my dad was home from work one day. He didn't go to work that day. And Virgil came, and he was drunk. And he came up on the front porch. And my daddy opened the door, and there was Virgil on the front porch, drunk, and my dad hit him and knocked him backwards off the front porch.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out there in the yard. We were playing ball in the backyard. My mom had the ball bat. And he went out there and he told Virgil to get out of my yard and don't ever come back here. If you come back here again, I'll kill you. And he turned around to go in the house, and when he did, Virgil come up with a knife, out of his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad turned his back on him, had gone and started going in the house, and my mom had come around the house to see what the commotion was, and she seen that, and she had that ball bat in her hand, and she hit Virgil in the head with that ball bat. And of course, he went down, and he couldn't get up. My dad kicked him all the way to the curb, or to the road out of the yard. And we begged my dad not to kill him. He was going to, but we begged him not to do it. Then he said, well, go over there and tell his family, his folks, to come and get him, because he couldn't even get up. So that was my job, to go over there. It was dark, and I had to walk maybe an hour to where they lived. And I go over there and I told them, I said, Virgil's drunk. He come over to our house. My dad knocked him off the porch. He's unconscious. He's laying by the road, and he told me to tell you guys to come and get him. And they looked at me and said, just go ahead and kill him. said he ain't worth nothing anyway. So I just come on back to the house and said they won't come and get him. Anyhow, we left him lay by the road, and he finally come to enough that he crawled off down the hill. And he lived a little while after that, not long, but of course, I knew he was going to die, because when my mom hit him with that ball bat, he had blood coming out his ears. I knew he was in trouble, but there wasn't much you could do about it. His family was probably glad he was gone. But anyhow, that was kind of that story about...
more of that country justice, huh?
I suppose there was never anything else said about it. The neighbors never complained.
No repercussions from the family or anything?
None. No, never heard a bad word about it. He just gone. Anyhow, that's so much for that today.
Well, thanks for talking to me.